When we think of games that change who we are as people, we often lean immediately towards the larger scale properties that take hundreds of hours to delve into and transport ourselves into. Very few times in my life has a game been able to deliver such a clear impact on me through such a short amount of time with it. Undertale has finally changed that. If you can believe it, I've managed to go the past 10 years having never played Undertale. Despite having it be spoiled numerous times over the years and seeing it become a phenomenon in gaming culture all throughout my childhood, I'd never had any interest in actually picking the game up for myself and trying to understand what the hype was about. That is, until now. As you can imagine, writing about Undertale isn't something easily achieved, and certainly not a fresh idea considering the game is now 10 years old. My perspective of the game has been heavily skewed by the overwhelming popularity of it, and so whilst I'd love to start this video by saying I went into it completely blind, I'd be lying. Undertale was a game that pushes beyond the boundaries of what a video game can be, which subsequently means the community has pushed itself beyond its own boundaries too, leading to the property now having an unfortunately tainted appearance to the outside world. And I can say that from experience as someone who has only seen this game from the outside for its entire existence. But nonetheless, I went into it with a positive and optimistic mindset, as I'd had people suggest for me to try it for a handful of years, and now was my time to finally give it a go. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Undertale hit me on an emotional level not many other games have been able to replicate. My playthrough immediately began with me understanding that this guy right here is not a guy I wanted to be involved with. I'd seen through previous spoilers that Flowey was the villain of this story, and so I was hesitant to approach them as I was also just surprised that they're introduced so early in the narrative. As I made my way through the ruins, I entered my first ever fight against Frogget, and for whatever reason, I chose to spare them. Knowing this game had consequences for your actions, I thought that by sparing the very first enemy you encounter may be the ideal solution to opening up a route towards a better ending. And so for the majority of the runes, I spared close to every monster I came across. Upon making it to Toriel's home, I felt a calming sense of warmth and humanity. The colours were vibrant and optimistic in tone, and the sight of her on the comfy living room chair filled me with intrigue, which is why the next scene left me feeling anything but hopeful. I do want to leave. Great. I tried speaking to Toriel for what felt like forever to no avail. And thinking I'd done something wrong along the way, I quit the fight. The idea of killing her this soon was nerve-wracking, and didn't seem right considering how early into my adventure I was. It was at this point at the end of the ruins that Undertale's true emotional vulnerability began to shine on me. Despite only knowing this monster for 30 minutes, they felt worth my time. Isolated and drained from a lack of social interaction with others didn't feel like someone that had to die. From my perspective, all they had done up until this point was try to protect me, and yet it was still me that chose to go against her and pursue greater things in the story. The constant awareness that every choice supposedly mattered made me fearful of every decision I chose to make. Even now when writing this script, I wish I had the opportunity to experience this game fully blind, because I feel like my decisions would have been dramatically different. Still, I pushed on. I met Sans and Papyrus, the equally fictional and real fame monsters of Undertale, and they were a blast to communicate with. Very quickly did I become conscious of just why these two characters, Sans in particular, are so famous in video game culture. Their early dialogue is witty and playful, something I wasn't expecting in a game with seemingly dire consequences. They each became driving forces for me to carry on through such a simple game on the outside looking in. My love for these two was palpable from the get-go, and I felt required to acknowledge them through my entire 5-hour playthrough. So many moments with these two made me happy and connected with them. Sans became my favourite character in the whole story because I saw a lot of myself in him, even after not being given much dialogue from him. He was laid back, an enjoyer of dumb yet intelligent comedy, a protective brother most of all. Even if my height closely resembles Papyrus, Sans was someone who I found common ground with, ultimately making him a monster I never wanted to lose sight of. As I progressed further, I remained captivated by this unworldly devotion to all the main characters. Even with many of them having the desire to hurt me, I never once wanted to hurt them. And I know that this is a feeling I'm not alone with. This is a 10-year-old video game, and my experience is nothing out of the ordinary. And yet, my experience is nothing but my own. My journey through the underground continued alongside the handful of people I had in my stream chat. I had a friend giving me small hints along the way to uncover aspects of the game I would have otherwise missed, and I loved that these interactions opened up multiple new secrets that could have easily been spoiled by lore videos or forum posts. It still felt like a natural means of discovery, which encouraged me to try and explore everywhere I felt was meaningful. One of the most important moments in the story for me came when the fight against the dummy happened towards the end of the waterfall section. I was unsure how I'd get through the fight without hurting it, until... Is that rain? Bye. Oh, it's you. Oh, is it because I didn't fight him? This was what Undertale was all about. I was beginning to understand. Following on from this noteworthy section of the story, I went through more story beats that I had become familiar with thanks to the years of cultural relevance this game had kept up with, as well as parts that were special for much more personal reasons, like seeing Temmie for the first time. It's Silver! Just gonna chill for a bit, feel free. This is my first time playing Undertale. Oh my god, it's Silver! I even somehow got through the Metaton quiz without noticing the hints there. Not sure how I did that bit yet, and also I don't know how to pronounce their name properly, I'm so sorry. Something else I noticed in this section of the game is just how little I'd ever seen it before. Even though Undertale was arguably the most influential RPG of the past decade, the entire Hotland area was totally new to me, and I'd seen close to none of it before. Both the jetpack minigame and bomb defusal part were brand new experiences that just hadn't been brought up in anything I'd seen or heard about the game before. I assume this is down to it not having as much memorable dialogue, as well as this guy being a fucking chatterbox bastard because you can't walk more than 5 steps without hearing. To me, it was the most tedious part of the entire trip, and it really didn't impress me the way in which I wanted it to. But I was still determined to progress. And then... the castle. Unknown to me, this would be a pivotal moment in my journey. Before stepping into the elevator, I said one extremely important thing. Well, obviously there's a way to do it without that, because that's the reason there's the pacifist run. However, I have no worry about killing Asgore. So that doesn't bother me. Merely walking through this deserted castle filled me with an everlasting hopeful dread that I was actually nearing the barrier which would help me escape. But at this point, did I even want to? Undertale's soundtrack is one of the best I've ever heard. It was significantly more recognisable than I had been made aware of going into things, and despite being familiar with the hits like Megalovania and Fallen Down, I never expected the soundtrack to be so ingrained in my brain before even playing the game it was connected to. Every couple minutes through this treacherous world, I'd hear a neighbourly melody that I could pinpoint in my mind through content made by fellow creators on YouTube. To my surprise, Undertale was seemingly the most universally used video game soundtrack on the platform. Being able to trace back so many memories of watching specific creators was such a distinctive part of my playthrough. It gave me a profound appreciation for it coming from someone who had only heard the music for a full decade, without knowing its true origins. I loved the theme of Hotland and especially the famous Sans theme, as they felt lively and dramatic, yet some also felt silly and unafraid to be their own individual tune. But it was the softer songs that I gravitated towards more. Tracks like So Tempera and Premonition overwhelmed me with their haunting yet peaceful emotions. They made me feel like I was truly stuck in a vast underground world that I shouldn't belong in, yet a world I never wanted to abandon. And whilst I can talk about the ending or his theme as being some of my favourites, the one track that stuck out to me the most was The Choice. This scene was the scene that changed everything. Up until this point in the story, I hadn't cared for characters that significantly. I became attached to specific characters on a base level, such as Sans and Papyrus as mentioned earlier, but it never went any deeper than that. But this moment in the hall, face to face with the character you've known since you first left the ruins, it recontextualized everything I had done up until that point. I began feeling a sense of dread, a sense of regret. Even if I hadn't killed any significant characters, I'd still killed many creatures that I could have saved. The reveal of EXP and love as acronyms for something much more sinister just made me feel hollow. I was silent for this entire scene, until the music faded in, and I just wanted to undo so many of my choices. 10 years later, these choices still make a difference. You may have journeyed to this a long time ago, but I hadn't. I carried on further past the throne room entrance and down to this. It's every human. Fuck, man. Oh my god, wait, why is this game actually like hitting me now? This became my favourite room in the entire game. It took me an hour to beat Asgore. Not because I was dying needlessly, but because I was just too afraid to kill him. I spent an hour mercilessly trying to use the ACT command to try and gain something out of it. At one point I tried repeatedly dying intentionally as I noticed the text at the beginning of the fight change, but it wasn't until my friend informed me that I had to fight him that I ultimately succeeded. I changed my mind about killing him within just 10 minutes of entering the castle. That talk with Sans made me want to spare him. He didn't deserve to die from my selfishness, and for a brief moment, I thought I'd really saved him. Oh my fucking god. Oh my fucking god. And it closes the game. What happens if I relaunch it? Don't tell me that's it. Oh my god. I've seen this fight before. Oh my god, I've seen this and I didn't know the context of it. As I'm sure everyone here has experienced before, this fight completely enamored me. Despite seeing it before, I never understood the context nor the emotional weight it held in the story, but I pushed myself to my complete limit here. I didn't give up. All that was on my mind was one thing: stay determined. Oh my god, the souls. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, I don't know what to do. Well, do I feel like it's gonna be the bad ending if I free her? Fuck. Finally completing Undertale was a moment I don't think I'll ever fully come to terms with. That quaint serenity followed up by the unique Sans phone call at the very last breath of your adventure, it all came together to just leave me stunned. After officially completing my save, I spent 30 minutes on stream just flooding out my feelings. It felt like a game I couldn't play again. I didn't want to go through the intensity I had just dealt with ever again. And for a brief period, that was the case. Why is that actually such a powerful game? Bro, I really didn't have too much care until that last bit of the castle. From that point onwards, that was one of the most mentally intense things I've ever experienced. But I knew I couldn't end this video speaking about just a single neutral run through the game. I had to go through it once more. I needed to talk to every NPC again, and I needed to find more secrets and uncover more of the story. It was time to go back to the underground. I deliberately chose this part of the script to not even have a script to it. The pacifist run was so unique in a way that I can't fully explain, and genuinely I believe it to be the most important replay of a game I've ever done. Of course, because the replay itself is different to what the first playthrough was in a lot of ways, but just going through that story again, going through all these zones, the hotlands, the waterfall, so many areas, and just having so much emotional weight attached to them was a much more different experience with the game. I noticed things very early on in the playthrough, such as the text changes at the beginning where people said that I looked familiar, and at first I thought it was just the same text as before, but that was the first moment where I was like, oh, the game does pay attention to what you're doing in every aspect, and that really took a toll on me. Then obviously going to Temmie Village, which I missed the first time around, and just seeing that such a strange little area, it was great. I really loved finding that, and it was a sweet moment in the story. And then Undyne's quest, I had actually saved Undyne the first time I played, but just going through her quest and becoming friends with her properly, and Papyrus jumping out the window, and then the house being set on fire and all this stuff, that was just, it felt special. Like a lot of stuff in this game, it felt special. And then, not to mention the true lab sequence after that, where you discover that the bathroom was actually a true lab, and you discover the secrets of, is it Alphys? Whatever the name is. Discovering their past and their, experiments that they did, understanding that they created Flowey. Like, that was one of the most powerful moments of my entire playthrough, and of both playthroughs, as a matter of fact. Just so much of it was different. The fact that I did a pacifist run, so when I got to the Sands hallway again and I heard that music, it didn't feel foreboding anymore. It just felt happy. It felt hopeful. It was like I knew that I had done the right thing this time, and I was so grateful for myself for doing it, and a game has never been able to uncover that in me in the way that this game did, and I could cry just talking about it. It's really special. And then of course, the final fight, fighting Azrael, and all my theories being completely wrong, but me loving the fact that I couldn't figure out what the ending of this run was going to be. Fighting Azrael and you just die, but they don't let you die. And then I was right the first time in my first playthrough. I said, wait, Toriel is the queen. And then finding that out to be true is insane. And then obviously the ultimate reveal of who Flowey is. These are all moments which you have probably experienced, and if you're watching this video, you've probably experienced these a year ago, 6 months ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But I only experienced this year, and to be honest with you, it nearly made me cry, and it's making me nearly cry thinking about it. And then you get that final warning, just saying that you've done the right thing. You have that sunset ending of all the monsters and you making your way out. And then it just says, you can go back. You have the power. And to be honest, I don't really know if I want to. I know I will. The genocide run is calling my name, but I'm happy with what I have done. The game Undertale couldn't be anything but the game Undertale. Transfixed in this world, I learnt that this was an experience that couldn't be replicated by a movie or a show or even a novel. The core of Undertale is that it knows it's a video game. It's aware of you whenever you are or aren't playing it. It spies on your inner being and breaks the fourth wall in ways no other media can accomplish. And that's exactly what makes Undertale, Undertale. I never expected to become so emotionally attached to some small indie project that I thought I already knew enough about over the years. I've seen Undertale for a decade now, through Gmod Death Run videos, through millions of edits, through its music being so widely used across YouTube, through my own life experiences. I've seen Undertale all this time, and all this time Undertale has seen me too. I just didn't know it. This game has been around for what feels like forever now, but after finally playing it, that forever is no longer going to just be a feeling. It's going to become my reality. Despite the overbearing community this game has developed, I'm grateful for every person that made Undertale part of their personality. You've chosen an amazing thing to bond yourself with, and I'm jealous I didn't join that pack sooner. So, thank you Undertale, from the bottom of my soul, for helping me stay determined. This was one of the hardest videos I think I've had to make, and I'm recording this before I've even edited it. I don't want to imagine how hard it's going to be to edit, but this game was something special, and I don't really have much to say on this outro. I just want to say that I appreciate anyone that has made content about this game, that has written about this game, that has given this game the flowers it deserves, no pun intended. The fact that I just can write a script, that the script was miserable to work on, even though it wasn't very long. I struggled so much with writing about this game, because this game is just all about feeling. There's so much emotional attachment to this game, and I don't think I'm yet to fully grasp it, and I think it's going to take years for me to fully grasp it, and I'm not looking forward to those years, but at the same time I am. So, thank you all for watching. Thank you so much for the support on the last video. If anyone is watching this after seeing my Breath of the Wild video and subscribing, thank you. You're amazing, and I really appreciate that, and videos doing that well really motivates me to keep going. And I've said this before, I want to do this full time. This is the only thing I've ever wanted to do. So I hope that you gain something out of this. I hope that Undertale continues to, inspire you. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you all for watching. Thank you Tesco Meal Deal, as always, for being a member. I will see you all in the next video. Thank you guys. Peace.